All right. Welcome back to the channel. As you see, we got a new mic, so I'm excited to use it. But yeah, today we are going to address probably one of the bigger questions in this NBA season. Should we buy or should we sell on the Los Angeles Clippers? Yes, they've been probably the most overrated team in the NBA since Paul George and Kawhi Leonard became a Clipper. But I still think there's reason to believe on why we should buy in on the Clippers on making it to the championship possibly this year. But let's start first with how they became the most overrated team in the NBA. First, it was Paul George being traded to the Clippers from OKC. At the time, it was regarded, it might still be the biggest trade in NBA history in terms of the most first-round picks attached to a trade. It was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and 5 first-round picks for Paul George to be sent to the Los Angeles Clippers. And shortly after, Kawhi Leonard decides to not sign back with the Toronto Raptors, which that was the team he just won a championship with, and instead decides to sign with the Los Angeles Clippers on a 4-year deal. So now you have Paul George, who was coming off, well, he had like an MVP type season with OKC. Then you just had Kawhi Leonard, who just won a championship, was regarded as, if not the best player in the world, one of the best players in the world. Those guys teaming up, and right away, they were considered the favorites or one of the favorites to win the NBA Finals the next year and years to come. They were considered the best team in Los Angeles, and that's with the Lakers, who had LeBron James and AD, who eventually won the championship that year. They had a very good team on paper, and they've had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George there. And when we reflect on their time since then, in 2019 to 2023 now, they've won 0 championships, and that's why they're considered the most overrated team in the league. But yeah, in this video, obviously we're going to talk about the Clippers, but we're also going to talk about possible trade ideas that I saw and I made that could possibly make this team better. Let's first talk about the Clippers throughout the season. Like I said, there's a reason to buy in them, because when you look at the Western Conference, right now they're currently 22-21. That's a little bit. That's one game over 500, and they're still 6th in the West. The Western Conference is so wide open. I mean, right now, I don't have 100% confidence to say this team for sure is coming out the West. Yes, Denver is number 1 in the West, but, you know, it could change because the West has been fluctuating in terms of the number 1 team. At first, it was like Phoenix, Utah Jazz was up there, Portland was up there, Pelicans was up there. So the number 1 team is always changing. And when you look at the Clippers being 22-21, them being 6th in the West, they're a half game back from being a top 4 team in the West. They're just coming off a 6-game losing streak. They just ended that on Tuesday when they beat Dallas. Before that 6-game losing streak, they were 21-15, and they were 4th in the West. So obviously, this Clipper team has been inconsistent, but that's partly due to the inconsistent lineups. You've had Kawhi Leonard in and out of the lineup, of course, because of load management, which has been a thing throughout his whole career. You've had Paul George in and out of the lineup. He's been out now because of a hamstring injury. You've had John Wall, who's been in and out of the lineup because he missed a whole year of basketball. Now he's back with the Clippers, still kind of getting acclimated to NBA basketball, still getting acclimated to how the Clippers play. And the Clippers, like Ty Lue said, that he just needs 15 games with a fully healthy squad this year, which, you know, is 15 games enough? I don't know, but hopefully you can see that from this team. I mean, you want to see consistency because you have players like a Norman Powell, who you have players in general who are trying to find their role within this team. For example, Norman Powell. Some games he's asked to be the number 1 scorer of this team, and then when Paul George, Kawhi Leonard's back, he has to tone it down a little bit. It would be better if the players of this team knew what their consistent role was and how to play in that consistent role going into the playoffs. So that's something that has to be considered. But when we look at just numbers-wise, the Clippers, they have a really good defense. They have the 5th best defense at 110.8 defensive rating. But offensively, they have the 3rd worst offense in NBA at 109.9 offensive rating. And I think it's probably due to just they have a slow pace. They're 24th in field goal attempts. They're 28th in points per game. And they're one of the slower teams in terms of pace. But when we look at the game they had on Tuesday, I think we saw just one of the better lineups from this Clipper team. We saw a small ball lineup. We saw Robert Covington, play in a season high in minutes. He was at 31 minutes. He was a plus 13. He was playing that small ball 5, and I liked what I saw. I mean, we saw Kawhi Leonard, Robert Covington, Terrence Mann, Batum, Marcus Morris in that lineup. That was a good 5-man lineup right there. Had more spacing. No one was clogging the paint. Obviously, they have Ivica Zubac, solid player, averaging a double-double, but he clogs the paint. I like seeing this Clipper team with a small ball 5. And, Rocco, he's been seeing inconsistent minutes, but I would think going forward that he's going to start playing consistent minutes. But yeah, Kawhi Leonard, let's look at his numbers. Through 19 games, he's averaging 18.2 points, 6.1 rebounds, and 3.8 assists on 48, 30, 83 splits, which is pretty efficient. But since December, when he was consistently playing 30-minute games, when he was playing, he's averaging 21 points, 6.9 rebounds, 4 assists. Paul George, his running mate, he's been averaging 24 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists on 45, 39, 89 splits. Don't know if I mentioned this already, but they're 9-6 with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George playing together out of the 43 games. So they played 15 out of the 43 games total. Kawhi Leonard, he's been looking better, looking back into form. He had 33 points last night. Getting to his spots at first, it was hard to watch him because, he was trying to be more careful with his body. He's coming off that ACL injury. He missed the whole season, so slowly acclimating himself. But you can see him getting into his spots more. Defensively, he's back and he's looking better in form. And the other surrounding players, Norman Powell, he started the season out slow. For me, he was one of my favorites for 6th man of the year. He started the year off averaging only 10 points and was shooting it very inefficiently. But then every month since then, he's been averaging about 17 points and shooting more efficiently. He'll still have games where he's not shooting the ball well. He's not scoring that much. And that's, like I said, that's the inconsistencies in their lineup. Sometimes he's asked to be that leading scorer, and sometimes he's asked to tone it down. So hopefully he gets to see more consistency in his role throughout the season. They've just recently taken out Reggie Jackson out of the lineup, and I've been looking at Twitter. I've seen how the Clipper fans react to Reggie Jackson. They don't really like him that much. And, when it comes to just him playing with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, yes, Reggie Jackson was good for them in that playoff run before, but now it's like trying to play too much hero ball. The ball stops when it's in his hands, and you don't need that, especially when you already have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George where the ball's stopping when they get it. At that point, you should just it's better when they have a Terrence Mann, and it was obvious that night when they played the Mavs. It was better when they had a Terrence Mann being the point guard, because he's a solid floor spacer, will shoot the ball. I mean, he's having a down year in terms of shooting overall, but still has the ability to shoot the ball. He's a great defender, unlike Reggie Jackson. He's a ball mover. The ball won't stick when it's in his hands. He'll get into the lane, look for kickouts, get some points in the paint. So I like Terrence Mann now being that starting point guard. And then obviously you have John Wall coming off the bench too, still getting acclimated. He's averaging 11 points. You see some bright moments out of him, but mostly throughout the season he's been inconsistent. But that's to be expected. Coming off, not playing basketball for a year, he's been shooting inefficiently. So I think John will continue to get better. Luke Kennard, he's gonna come back from injury soon. He's been missing a couple of games, but he's been good as well, shooting at his highest 3-point percentage at 46%. So, I mean, Terrence Mann and Luke Kennard, whoever you start, I think will be positive for this team. Now that obviously Reggie Jackson's still a good player, but he doesn't fit what this team is trying to do right now. They're playing better without him. In a small sample size, of course, but they just look better without him. Terrence Mann at the starting point guard, have Luke Kennard coming at the bench. Luke Kennard still has the ability to play point guard as well. So you have that. John Wall coming off the bench being that scorer. So, I mean, there's definitely some potential with this team, like I said. I mean, they're deep. They have weapons. It's just about building consistency. That's just the biggest thing with them, because that's the only thing that they don't have is consistency. If you see this team in a 7-game series, it's going to be dangerous, because there's a Kawhi Leonard who has that championship DNA. He was considered the best player in the NBA not too many years ago. Paul George is Paul George. He's going to give you about 25 a night. Just has to stay healthy. That's assuming health. All right, I'm buying on the Clippers right now, assuming health. I don't know if that's a good way to say it. But yeah, when we talk about just the improvements this team can make, just the lack of big man depth. Like I said, I would think the future starting lineup at full health: Terrence Mann, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, and Ivica Zubac. Or you could even put Batum. You have Ivica Zubac. But after that, you have no other big man depth. I mean, you have Moses Brown, who has seen inconsistent minutes. I don't know what their plan is with him. I mean, he'll get 10 boards when he does play consistent minutes, but you still need big man depth. All right, so let's talk about some potential trades this Clipper team can make. I mean, they're not afraid to make any moves. I mean, a matter of fact, the past 3 seasons, they've made a move. When you look at last year, they got Norman Powell and Robert Covington from the Portland Trailblazers. The year before that, they traded Lou Williams for Rajon Rondo. And the year before that, I think they got Marcus Morris and Isaiah Thomas. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that happened. But yeah, anyways, they're not afraid to make a move. And I would be surprised if they didn't make a move before trade deadline this year. Anyways, let's get into the potential trades. So the first one, I did not make up myself. I saw it online. It was between the Spurs and the Clippers. It was the Spurs sending Jakob Poeltl to the Clippers for Marcus Morris and a future 2028 first-round pick. I believe it benefits both squads. The Spurs obviously are not trying to win, and Jakob Poeltl is on an expiring deal, and instead of just letting him walk in free agency, they can get something out of him. You know, they're going to be in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, and in this trade, they're going to get Marcus Morris and build their draft equity with the 2028 first-round pick. And on the other end, the Clippers are getting Jakob Poeltl, who's a very serviceable big. He's a very solid rim protector, a good rebounder. He has some offense with him. He can finish. He's a good passer. He's going to give you some very good backup center minutes. The next trade, I made it myself when I was using the trade machine, but it's for Miles Turner. Miles Turner is very attractive with the whole league because he's one of the best shooting bigs, one of the best rim protectors. And he's having, you know, his value has gone up a lot actually because he's pretty much having his best year of his career so far. He's having a borderline all-star year this year. But yeah, the trade would look like this. The Pacers are sending Miles Turner to the Clippers for Ivica Zubac, Reggie Jackson, and that 2028 first-round pick. I mean, you're kind of giving up a lot, but like I said, Miles Turner's trade value is pretty high. And with Miles Turner being added to this Clipper team, you get to play 5 out full time. And I think that benefits the Clippers because, in my opinion, when I see them play, they play better in the 5 out. You know, it opens up driving lanes. The paint is not cluttered. It allows Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to post up, to get in their bag down there. So, obviously, just the backup center minutes won't be there still. But Miles Turner is an upgrade from Ivica Zubac. The next trade that I made is Mason Plumlee to the Clippers for Reggie Jackson and a future 2024 second-round pick. The Charlotte Hornets, they're also in a position similar to the Spurs where they're not trying to win. I don't even know why they play Mason Plumlee so much because they have some young centers that they could play. But yeah, they would get rid of Mason Plumlee. He's on an expiring deal. He will be a very solid backup big for this Clippers. Solid defender, solid passer. And like I said, he's going to provide you good bench minutes. And on the other side, you're getting Reggie Jackson. But, I mean, I think getting that second-round pick, at least you're getting something for Mason Plumlee instead of letting him walk in a free agency. And the Charlotte Hornets opens up that center minutes. They can play Mark Williams more. They can play Kai Jones. Honestly, they should. They should experiment with those guys because they're not trying to win. But yeah, that's what I have for some trades. Buy on the Clippers, I would say. Buy on the Clippers, man. They have some potential. I think, at least. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like, subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Obviously, the Clippers is kind of a sensitive topic in the NBA. Are you going to buy? Are you going to sell? Do you like my trade ideas? What other trade ideas do you have for this Clipper teams? Let me know down below. But like I always say in my videos, my first name's Emilio, but middle name is Lawrence, and I like hoops. If you like hoops too, subscribe to it too. Until next time, peace.